Energy, not words, is what truly influences others. Introduction. They feel you long before they hear you. That's the truth most people never realize, and it's why most efforts to convince, inspire, or influence others fail, because they're trying to manipulate the surface while ignoring the force underneath it all. William Walker Atkinson understood something few dared to speak in his time, that behind every thought, every interaction, every human reaction, there's energy, and that energy, silent, invisible, and deeply magnetic, speaks louder than the finest words ever crafted. Your presence is not empty. It is a field of living vibration, charged by your beliefs, your emotions, your will, and your mental focus. Whether you're aware of it or not, you are constantly radiating, constantly transmitting, constantly influencing everyone you come into contact with. The question isn't whether you're influencing others. It's how and whether you're in control of it. Influence isn't about charisma. It's not about the right script or clever persuasion techniques. Those are tools, hollow ones, if the energy behind them isn't aligned. Atkinson taught that the real power lies in the unseen, in the vibrational patterns of your thoughts, in the magnetic projection of your will, and in the silent force that emanates from your mind like heat from the sun. You've met people like this. They enter a room and everything shifts. They say little, but their presence speaks volumes. That's not luck. That's energetic mastery, and it can be learned. This audiobook is not about tricks. It's not about persuasion. It's about awakening the power that already radiates from you, the silent force that, when focused, makes people feel something they can't explain, but can't ignore. Because in the end, it's not what you say, it's the energy behind it that moves the world. If you are interested in these topics, then keep listening. Chapter 1. The Hidden Language of Reality. Everything in existence is vibration. This isn't spiritual philosophy, it's quantum physics. The chair you're sitting in, the air you're breathing, the thoughts moving through your mind right now, all of it is energy in motion, waves of frequency dancing at different speeds. Your smartphone works because electromagnetic waves carry information through space. Your radio picks up stations because sound waves travel on specific frequencies. Your microwave heats food because it agitates water molecules at precisely 2.45 gigahertz. We live in a universe where invisible forces constantly transmit, receive, and influence matter. Yet somehow, we've convinced ourselves that human consciousness operates differently. We've decided that thoughts stay trapped inside our skulls, that emotions are purely internal experiences, and that influence only happens through the crude mechanics of spoken language. This is perhaps the greatest illusion of modern life. Right now, as you listen to these words, your brain is generating electrical activity that can be measured by an EEG machine from outside your skull. Your heart is producing an electromagnetic field that extends 3 to 8 feet beyond your body, a field so strong it can be detected by sensitive instruments and actually influences the heart rhythms of people near you. When you feel anxious, your nervous system releases chemical signals that change your scent, your posture, your micro-expressions, and yes, your energetic signature. When you feel confident, your entire being broadcasts a different frequency. Animals sense this immediately, children respond to it instinctively, and other adults, whether they realize it or not, attune to it automatically. Think about the people you know who have what we call presence, the ones who walk into a room and somehow shift the entire atmosphere without saying a word. The leaders who command attention not through volume, but through an invisible authority. The individuals who make you feel either energized or drained just by being near them. These people haven't mastered some mystical art. They've simply learned to work with forces that most of us ignore. The constant exchange of energy that happens between human beings every moment of every day. Consider this. Before you ever learned language, you were already communicating. As an infant, you could sense your mother's emotional state, respond to the energy of strangers, and influence the mood of everyone around you through your own energetic broadcasts. You were born knowing this hidden language. Society simply taught you to forget it. But here's what's fascinating. You never actually stopped using it. Every day you make decisions based on the vibe you get from people. You trust certain individuals immediately and feel suspicious of others for reasons you can't quite articulate. You know when someone is lying, not because their words don't add up, but because their energy feels incongruent. You've experienced the phenomenon of thinking about someone just before they call. You've felt the weight of someone's stare from across a room. You've walked into places that felt heavy with history, charged with possibility or thick with unspoken conflict. These aren't coincidences. They're glimpses of the energetic reality that underlies all human interaction, a reality where influence happens not through manipulation of words, but through the transmission of coherent, focused energy. The ancient traditions understood this. They spoke of chi, prana, life force, the invisible current that animates all living things. Modern science is rediscovering these truths through the study of biofields, morphic resonance, and quantum entanglement. We're learning that consciousness itself might be a field phenomenon, not a brain-based process. What this means for you is profound. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every intention you hold is not contained within the boundaries of your physical body. It radiates outward, creating ripples in the field of consciousness that connects all human beings. You are not separate from the people around you. You are part of an interconnected web of energy and information, constantly giving and receiving signals that operate below the threshold of ordinary awareness. This is why some people can influence others with a glance, why certain individuals seem to attract opportunities effortlessly, and why the most powerful leaders often speak the least. They've learned to work with the hidden language of reality, the language of energy itself. Chapter 2. You are a broadcasting tower. Imagine for a moment that you could see the invisible spectrum of electromagnetic radiation that fills the space around you right now. Radio waves carrying music and voices, cellular signals transmitting data, Wi-Fi networks pulsing with information, GPS satellites beaming location coordinates, and microwave towers relaying communications across vast distances. The air around you isn't empty. It's alive with transmission. Frequencies layered upon frequencies, each carrying its own unique signature, its own specific information, its own particular influence on the devices designed to receive it. Now, imagine that your mind operates on the same principle. Your consciousness isn't trapped inside your skull like a prisoner in a cell. It's a broadcasting system, constantly transmitting the frequency of your thoughts, emotions, and intentions into the field of awareness that surrounds you. And just like radio waves, these mental transmissions don't simply disappear. They travel outward, seeking receivers tuned to similar frequencies. Every emotion you experience creates what we might call a thought wave. When you feel anger, you're not just having an internal experience. You're broadcasting anger on a specific frequency that other minds can detect and respond to. When you feel love, compassion, or genuine enthusiasm, you're transmitting those qualities as well, creating ripples in the consciousness field that can influence everyone within your energetic range. This isn't a metaphor. This is a mechanism. Consider how you can walk into a room and immediately sense tension between two people who haven't spoken a word. Their conflict isn't contained within their individual minds. It's radiating outward as a discordant frequency that your nervous system picks up and interprets as something's wrong here. Or think about those rare individuals who seem to carry peace with them wherever they go. Their presence alone calms agitated people, settles chaotic situations, and creates an atmosphere of safety and trust. They're not using techniques or strategies. They're simply broadcasting the frequency of inner stillness so clearly and consistently that it entrains the nervous systems of everyone around them. This is the secret that master teachers, great leaders, and naturally charismatic people have always known. Influence happens at the level of being, not doing. It's not about what you say or how you say it. It's about what you are, moment to moment, and how clearly you're broadcasting that essence into the world. Your mental state is contagious. When you're scattered and anxious, you scatter and agitate others. When you're focused and calm, you help others find their center. When you're genuinely confident, not arrogant but truly secure in yourself, You give others permission to relax their defenses and trust your leadership. But here's where it gets really interesting. Most people are unconscious broadcasters. They're transmitting constantly, but they have no idea what signals they're sending. They wonder why they attract drama, why people seem to misunderstand them, why their attempts at influence fall flat, never realizing that their energetic transmission is completely out of alignment with their conscious intentions. Think about someone you know who always seems to be surrounded by chaos. They might be the nicest person in the world, always trying to help, always saying the right things. But somehow, wherever they go, problems follow. That's because beneath their helpful words and good intentions, they're broadcasting anxiety, neediness, or unresolved conflict. And the universe responds to what they're transmitting, not what they're trying to project. On the flip side, consider those individuals who seem to effortlessly attract opportunities, supportive relationships, and positive outcomes. They might not be the most skilled speakers or the most technically competent people in their field, but they're broadcasting something that draws others toward them: confidence, authenticity, genuine care, or simply a clear, coherent signal that others find compelling. The key insight here is that you're always influencing. There's no such thing as neutral. Every moment you're either adding to the coherence and harmony of the field around you, or you're contributing to its chaos and discord. You're either broadcasting signals that elevate and inspire others, or you're transmitting frequencies that drain and diminish them. This is why the most powerful form of influence isn't persuasion, it's presence. It's not about learning to manipulate others through clever words or psychological techniques. It's about becoming so clear, so coherent, so aligned with your deepest truth that your very being becomes a transmission of whatever qualities you want to see more of in the world. When you understand that you're a broadcasting tower, everything changes. You stop trying to convince people with arguments and start focusing on what you're actually transmitting. You realize that the most important conversation isn't the one happening with your mouth. It's the one happening with your entire being every moment of every day. Chapter 3. The Science of Thought Vibration. Albert Einstein, a youthful patent clerk, wrote a paper in 1905 that would fundamentally alter how we perceive the world. He demonstrated that matter and energy are distinct manifestations of the same fundamental substance rather than distinct entities. mc squared equals E. Mass times the square of the speed of light equals energy. What Einstein revealed is that everything we think of as solid, permanent, and separate is actually energy in motion, vibrating at specific frequencies. The difference between a rock and a radio wave isn't that one is matter and the other is energy. It's simply that they're vibrating at different rates. This principle applies to consciousness as well. Thoughts are not ethereal wisps that exist only in some abstract mental realm. They are structured patterns of energy with measurable properties: frequency, amplitude, coherence, and direction. When you think a thought, you're not just having an internal experience, you're creating a vibration that has real effects in the physical world. Modern neuroscience has shown us that different mental states produce distinctly different brainwave patterns. When you're anxious, your brain generates chaotic, high-frequency beta waves. When you're deeply focused, you produce steady, coherent alpha waves. When you're in a state of profound insight or creativity, your brain shifts into theta rhythms that are associated with heightened intuition and expanded awareness. But here's what's truly remarkable. These brainwave patterns don't stay contained within your skull. They create electromagnetic fields that extend beyond your body and can actually influence the brainwave patterns of people near you. This is called entrainment, and it's one of the most important principles in understanding how influence really works. When two oscillating systems come into proximity, they naturally synchronize to the stronger, more stable rhythm. You can see this with pendulum clocks placed on the same wall. Over time, they'll begin swinging in perfect unison. You can observe it with women living together, whose menstrual cycles gradually align. You can measure it in a way that a strong, steady heartbeat can actually regulate the heart rhythm of someone nearby. The same principle applies to consciousness. When your mental state is more coherent, more stable, and more powerfully focused than someone else's, their nervous system will naturally begin to entrain to your frequency. They'll start to feel what you're feeling, think more clearly if you're thinking clearly, and calm down if you're genuinely calm. This is why some people have such a powerful effect on groups. It's not because they're the loudest or the most talkative. It's because their internal state is so coherent and well-organized that it acts like a tuning fork, bringing everyone else into harmony with their frequency. Think about the difference between high-quality music and static. Both are sound waves, but one is organized, coherent, and pleasant to experience, while the other is chaotic, scattered, and irritating. Your thoughts work the same way. When your mental state is clear, focused, and aligned with your deepest values, you broadcast a frequency that others find attractive and inspiring. When your thoughts are scattered, conflicted, or driven by fear and insecurity, you transmit a kind of mental static that makes people uncomfortable and resistant. This explains why some individuals can walk into a tense situation and immediately shift the energy, while others seem to make every situation more chaotic just by being present. It's not about personality or social skills, it's about the quality of vibration they're broadcasting. The most successful leaders, teachers, healers, and influencers throughout history have intuitively understood this principle. They've learned to cultivate internal states of such clarity and coherence that their very presence becomes a stabilizing force for everyone around them. But here's the crucial point. This isn't a talent you're born with or without. It's a skill you can develop. Just as you can train your body to be stronger and more flexible, you can train your consciousness to be more coherent and more powerfully focused. The question isn't whether you're influencing others through thought vibration. You absolutely are, every moment of every day. The question is whether you're doing it consciously and skillfully or unconsciously and chaotically. When you begin to understand that your thoughts are real forces with measurable effects, everything about human interaction starts to make sense. You realize why some people drain your energy while others energize you. You understand why certain individuals can inspire you with a single glance, while others can demoralize you without saying a word. You're not just thinking thoughts, you're creating vibrations that ripple out into the world, influencing everyone and everything they touch. Chapter 4. How Influence Really Works. Everything you've been taught about influence is backwards. We've been conditioned to believe that influence is about finding the right words, the perfect argument, the most compelling evidence. We study persuasion techniques, practice elevator pitches, and memorize scripts designed to overcome objections and change minds. We approach influence as if it's a verbal chess match where the person with the best moves wins. But this approach misses the fundamental truth about how human beings actually make decisions. People don't choose with their rational minds, they choose with their entire nervous systems. They don't respond to your logic, they respond to your energy. They don't trust your words, they trust the coherence between what you're saying and what you're being. Persuading someone to adopt a different viewpoint is not the goal of true influence. The goal is to create an energy field that is so compelling, clear, and in line with truth that their inner intelligence will instinctively perceive it and gravitate toward it. We have already covered this entrainment theory. Now we will examine how it functions in real-world scenarios. Consider yourself attempting to persuade a friend to work out with you. The traditional method would be to offer rational claims, such as that exercise makes people feel better, gives them more energy, improves their appearance, and so forth. Addressing their issues with motivation, time, or self-consciousness may even help you get past their objections. But what's really happening during this conversation isn't a battle of ideas. It's an exchange of energy. If you're genuinely excited about working out, if you're radiating vitality and enthusiasm, if your entire being is broadcasting the frequency of health and aliveness, your friend's nervous system will pick up on that signal and begin to resonate with it. On the other hand, if you're trying to convince them to work out because you think they should, if you're coming from a place of judgment or superiority, if there's any incongruence between your words and your actual energy, they'll sense that immediately and resist. Not your arguments, but your transmission. This is why the most influential people often seem to do very little convincing. They simply embody the qualities they want to see in others so completely that being around them naturally inspires those same qualities. Consider a master teacher who doesn't need to demand respect. their presence commands it. A great leader who doesn't need to argue for their vision, their certainty makes it compelling. A skilled therapist who doesn't need to give advice, their deep listening creates space for healing to occur naturally. These individuals have learned to work with the deeper currents of influence. They understand that trying to change someone's mind is like trying to push a river upstream. But when you align with the natural flow of consciousness, when you become a clear, coherent transmission of whatever you want to inspire in others, influence becomes effortless. This is why authenticity is so powerful. When there's perfect alignment between your inner state and your outer expression, you create what we might call a coherent field. People can sense this coherence immediately, and it makes them feel safe to lower their defenses and open to new possibilities. Think about the last time someone tried to sell you something when they clearly didn't believe in it themselves. You could feel the incongruence, couldn't you? Their words said one thing, but their energy said something completely different. No matter how polished their presentation, no matter how logical their arguments, something felt off. Your nervous system detected the misalignment and activated your natural resistance. Compare that to a moment when someone spoke about something they truly believed in. Perhaps they were not the best orators. Perhaps they misspoke or overlooked crucial information. However, their genuine excitement was so captivating that you couldn't help but get excited yourself. You were now seeing possibilities you had not before considered as their coherent energy field entrained your own. This is influence in its purest form, not manipulation but inspiration, not coercion but invitation, not pushing against resistance but creating such an attractive field that others naturally want to move toward it. But here's where most people get stuck. They try to fake this coherence. They attempt to project confidence they don't feel, enthusiasm they don't have, or certainty about things they're actually unsure about. This creates what we might call energetic noise, a chaotic signal that confuses and repels others, rather than attracting them. The solution isn't to become a better actor. It's to become more genuinely aligned with what you're trying to communicate. If you want to influence others toward health, become genuinely healthy yourself. If you want to inspire confidence, develop real confidence. If you want to lead others toward a vision, make sure that vision is alive and compelling in your own consciousness first. This might seem like it makes influence more difficult, but actually, it makes it much easier. When you're broadcasting from a place of authentic alignment, you don't have to remember what to say or worry about overcoming objections. Your energy does the work for you. People often ask, but what if I'm trying to influence someone towards something I believe is good for them, but they're resistant? The answer is always the same. Check your own energy first. Are you coming from genuine care and service, or from a need to be right? Are you attached to the outcome, or are you simply offering a gift they're free to accept or decline? When your influence comes from a place of true service, when you're genuinely focused on what's best for the other person rather than what you want from them, resistance melts away. People can sense the difference between someone who wants to help them and someone who wants to use them, even when the words are identical. This is the secret that master influencers understand. The most powerful influence happens when you're not trying to influence at all. When you're simply being so authentically yourself, so aligned with your deepest values, so clear in your purpose that others naturally want to join you in that space. Real influence isn't about getting people to do what you want. It's about becoming the kind of person others naturally want to follow, learn from, and be around. It's about creating a field of energy so attractive, so coherent, so aligned with truth, that it draws out the best in everyone it touches. Chapter 5. The Power of Mental Imagery. What your mind cannot clearly see, it cannot impart. Among all the principles of human influence, this one is arguably the most ignored. We use a great deal of energy attempting to persuade people of concepts that we find difficult to imagine. We try to motivate others to achieve goals we can only dimly envision. We attempt to guide others to places that we haven't fully planned out in our own minds. We then question why our communication is weak, why our influence seems dispersed, and why our strongest pleas seem to be ineffective. The solution lies in understanding that your mind works like a radio transmitter. Just as a radio station must have a clear, strong signal to broadcast effectively, your consciousness must have a clear, vivid mental image before it can transmit focused influence. This isn't about positive thinking or wishful visualization. This is about the fundamental mechanics of how consciousness operates. Your brain is constantly creating internal representations of reality, mental models, images, and scenarios that guide your thoughts, emotions, and actions. These internal images aren't just private experiences. They're the templates from which your energetic transmissions are broadcast. When you have a vague, fuzzy, or conflicted mental image of what you're trying to communicate, you broadcast vague, fuzzy, conflicted energy. When your internal vision is crystal clear, emotionally compelling, and aligned with your deepest values, you transmit a signal so coherent and attractive that others can't help but tune in. Think about the most influential speakers you've ever heard. What made them compelling wasn't just their words, it was the fact that you could see what they were seeing. Their mental images were so vivid, so detailed, so emotionally alive, that they transmitted directly into your consciousness. You didn't just hear their ideas, you experienced their vision. This is why great leaders spend so much time alone, not planning what to say, but clarifying what they see. They understand that influence begins in the imagination. Before you can move others toward a possibility, that possibility must be absolutely real and compelling in your own mind. But mental imagery isn't just about big visions and grand possibilities. It applies to every interaction, every conversation, every moment when you're attempting to influence another person's thoughts, feelings, or actions. If you want someone to feel calm, you must first create a vivid internal image of calmness, not just the concept of being calm, but the actual felt sense of what calmness looks like, sounds like, and feels like in your body. Your nervous system will then broadcast that frequency, and their nervous system will naturally begin to entrain to it. If you want to inspire confidence in someone, you must first generate a clear, compelling image of them being confident. See them standing taller, speaking with certainty, moving through the world with ease and assurance. Hold that image with such clarity and emotional intensity that it becomes more real in your consciousness than their current state of doubt or fear. This is not manipulation, it's creation. You're not trying to force someone to be something they're not. You're helping them connect with possibilities that already exist within them by broadcasting a clear signal of what those possibilities look like when fully expressed. The ancient traditions understood this principle deeply. They spoke of the power of visualization, the importance of holding clear intentions, and the ability to see outcomes before they manifest in physical reality. Modern neuroscience is now confirming what these traditions always knew. The brain cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. Both create the same neural pathways, the same emotional responses, the same energetic transmissions. This means that when you create a clear, detailed, emotionally compelling mental image of the outcome you want to influence, your brain begins broadcasting as if that outcome is already real. And because consciousness is a field phenomenon, that broadcast begins to influence the probability of that outcome actually occurring. But here's the crucial point. The mental image must be authentic. It must be aligned with what's truly possible and beneficial for all involved. When you try to use visualization to manipulate others or force outcomes that aren't in alignment with the highest good, you create energetic resistance that ultimately works against you. The most powerful mental images are those that serve not just your own desires but the deepest needs and highest potential of everyone involved. When your vision is truly win-win, when it's aligned with love rather than fear, when it's focused on service rather than self-interest, it carries a frequency that naturally attracts cooperation and support. Before your next important conversation, take a few moments to clarify your mental image. What do you want the other person to feel? What do you want them to understand? What outcome would serve everyone's highest good? Create a vivid, detailed, emotionally compelling picture of that possibility and hold it clearly in your consciousness as you interact. You'll be amazed at how much more powerful and effective your influence becomes when you're broadcasting from a place of clear vision rather than vague hope. Chapter 6. Directed Energy. The Lost Skill of Will. Think of the difference between sunlight and laser light. Sunlight is diffuse, warm, and pleasant, but it can't cut through steel. Laser light is the same photons, but organized and directed with such precision that it can slice through the hardest materials. The difference isn't in the amount of energy, it's in the focus. Your consciousness works the same way. When your mental energy is scattered across worries, distractions, conflicting desires, and random thoughts, it has very little power to influence anything. But when that same energy is gathered, organized, and directed through the lens of a trained will, it becomes a force that can move mountains, or at least move people. The ancient traditions understood this principle intimately. They developed elaborate practices for training the will: meditation, concentration exercises, visualization techniques, and disciplines designed to strengthen the mind's ability to focus and direct energy. They knew that a person with a trained will could accomplish more with a whisper than someone with a scattered mind could accomplish with a shout. But you don't need to become a monk or spend years in meditation to develop this capacity. You can begin training your will right now, in the midst of your ordinary daily life. Recognizing when your mental energy is dispersed is the first step. Throughout the day, stop and consider, where am I focusing my attention at the moment? Is my mind wandering, or am I paying attention to what I'm doing? Am I thinking about anything else, or am I actually speaking to the person I'm speaking to? Most people are shocked to discover how rarely they're actually present, how seldom their attention is fully engaged with what they're supposedly doing. This scattered attention is a scattered influence, energy leaking out in all directions instead of being focused where it can be most effective. The second step is practicing what we might call energetic gathering. Before any important interaction, take a moment to collect your scattered thoughts and emotions. Breathe deeply, center yourself in your body, and consciously draw your attention back from wherever it's been wandering. Imagine gathering all your mental energy into a single focused beam. The third step is learning to direct that focused energy with clear intention. This isn't about forcing or pushing, it's about aiming. Just as an archer draws back the bow and aims carefully before releasing the arrow, you can learn to aim your mental energy towards specific outcomes, specific people, and specific possibilities. When you're having a conversation with someone, instead of letting your attention scatter across their appearance, your own performance anxiety, what you're going to say next, and random environmental distractions, gather all your energy and focus it completely on understanding them. Direct your full presence toward really seeing them, really hearing them, really connecting with their experience. You'll be amazed at how this simple shift transforms the quality of your interactions. When someone feels the full force of your focused attention, they respond differently. They open up more, they trust you more, they're more receptive to your influence, not because you're using techniques, but because you're giving them something rare and precious, the gift of your complete presence. This is the secret of truly charismatic people. It's not that they're more attractive or more intelligent or more skilled at conversation. It's that when they're with you, they're completely with you. Their energy isn't scattered across a dozen different concerns. It's focused entirely on the interaction at hand. But directed energy isn't just about attention. It's also about intention. When you combine focused attention with clear intention, you create what we might call a coherent transmission. Your energy isn't just concentrated, it's organized around a specific purpose. Before entering any situation where you want to influence others, take a moment to clarify your intention. Not what you want to get from them, but what you want to give to them. Not how you want them to serve you, but how you want to serve them. When your intention is clear and aligned with service, your directed energy becomes a gift rather than a demand. The will, properly understood, is not about domination or control. It's about the ability to organize your consciousness so clearly and direct it so precisely that it becomes a force for healing, inspiration, and positive change in the world. Chapter 7. Presence over Persuasion. There's a moment in every interaction when words become irrelevant. It happens in the space between sentences, in the quality of silence, in the depth of attention you bring to another person. It's the moment when they stop listening to what you're saying and start feeling who you are. And in that moment, your presence becomes more influential than any argument you could make. We live in a culture obsessed with persuasion. We study influence techniques, practice elevator pitches, and memorize scripts designed to overcome objections and change minds. We approach every interaction as if it's a debate to be won, a sale to be closed, a mind to be changed through the sheer force of our logic and charisma. But the most influential people in history, the leaders who moved nations, the teachers who transformed lives, the healers who created miracles, rarely relied on persuasion at all. Instead, they cultivated something far more powerful, a quality of presence so compelling that others naturally wanted to follow them, learn from them, and be transformed by them. Presence is not a technique you can learn from a book or a skill you can master through practice. It's a state of being, a way of showing up in the world that comes from deep inner alignment, unshakable centeredness, and genuine care for others. When you're truly present, you're not thinking about what to say next, how to impress the other person, or whether they're buying what you're selling. You're simply here, now, completely available to whatever wants to emerge in this moment. That availability creates a field of safety and possibility that allows others to drop their defenses and open to new ways of seeing and being. Think about the people who have had the greatest positive influence on your life. Chances are it wasn't because they had the best arguments or the most compelling presentations. It was because when you were with them, you felt seen, heard, and valued. Their presence created space for you to discover things about yourself you didn't know were there. This is the paradox of true influence. The less you try to change people, the more they change in your presence. The less you push your agenda, the more receptive they become to your perspective. The less you need them to be different, the more they naturally want to grow and evolve. But presence isn't passive. It's not about being a blank slate or having no opinions or desires. True presence is actually incredibly dynamic. It's the ability to be fully yourself while simultaneously being completely available to others. It's the capacity to hold your own center while creating space for others to find theirs. When you're present in this way, you become what we might call a tuning fork for higher possibilities. Your own inner clarity and coherence naturally help others find their clarity. Your peace helps them find their peace. Your confidence gives them permission to be confident. Your authenticity invites their authenticity. This is why the most powerful leaders often speak the least in meetings. They don't need to dominate the conversation because their presence dominates the space. People naturally look to them for guidance, not because they're the loudest or the most talkative, but because they're the most centered, the most clear, the most aligned with something larger than their personal agenda. But how do you cultivate this quality of presence? How do you develop the ability to influence through being rather than doing? The first key is learning to be comfortable with silence. Most people are so uncomfortable with quiet moments that they fill them with nervous chatter, meaningless small talk, or anxious energy. But silence is where presence lives. It's in the spaces between words that real communication happens. Practice being quiet without being absent. Practice listening without preparing your response. Practice being with others without needing to entertain them, impress them, or fix them. Just be present to what is, without trying to make it into something else. The second key is developing what we might call energetic stability. This means learning to maintain your center regardless of what's happening around you. When others are agitated, you remain calm. When they're confused, you stay clear. When they're reactive, you respond from a place of wisdom rather than emotion. This doesn't mean being cold or detached. It means being so grounded in your own truth that you can be fully present in others' experiences without being destabilized by it. You become like a mountain, solid, stable, and unmovable, yet completely open to whatever weather passes over it. The third key is cultivating genuine curiosity about others. When you're truly curious about someone, not trying to figure out how to influence them but genuinely interested in understanding their world, you naturally become present. Your attention shifts from your own agenda to their experience, and that shift creates an immediate sense of connection and trust. Most people spend conversations waiting for their turn to talk. But when you're genuinely curious, you find yourself hanging on their every word, asking deeper questions, discovering aspects of their experience you never would have imagined. And in that quality of attention, they feel valued in a way that opens them to possibilities they might otherwise resist. The fourth key is what we might call energetic generosity. This means approaching every interaction with the question, how can I serve this person? What do they need most right now? How can my presence be a gift to them? When you're energetically generous, you're not trying to get something from the interaction. You're trying to give something. Paradoxically, this makes you far more influential than any persuasion technique ever could. People can sense when you genuinely care about their well-being, and that sensing dissolves resistance faster than any argument. But perhaps the most important aspect of presence is authenticity, the courage to be exactly who you are, without pretense or performance. When you're authentic, you give others permission to be authentic too, and in that mutual authenticity, real influence becomes possible. Authenticity doesn't mean sharing every thought or feeling that crosses your mind. It means being honest about what you're experiencing, owning your perspective without insisting others share it, and showing up as a real human being rather than a polished persona. When you combine silence, stability, curiosity, generosity, and authenticity, you create a quality of presence that is absolutely magnetic. People want to be around you not because you're trying to influence them, but because being in your presence helps them feel more like themselves. This is the ultimate secret of influence. When you help others connect with their own truth, their own wisdom, and their own highest possibilities, they naturally want to follow your lead, not because you've convinced them of anything, but because you've created space for them to convince themselves. In a world full of noise, distraction, and superficial connections, your presence becomes a sanctuary. In a culture obsessed with doing, your being becomes revolutionary. In an environment where everyone is trying to get something from everyone else, your genuine care becomes irresistible. Stop trying to persuade people. Start learning to be present with them. The influence will follow naturally. Chapter 8. Invisible Influence at a Distance. Distance is an illusion when it comes to consciousness. Right now, as you listen to these words, you're connected to people thousands of miles away through invisible networks of energy and information. Your smartphone can instantly reach someone on the other side of the planet. Your thoughts about a loved one can somehow prompt them to call you at the exact moment you were thinking of them. Your emotional state can shift dramatically when you receive news about events happening in distant places. We accept these phenomena as normal when they involve technology or coincidence, but we resist the idea that consciousness itself might operate according to similar principles. We've been conditioned to believe that mental influence requires physical proximity, that thoughts stay trapped inside our skulls, and that we can only affect others through direct observable actions. But what if consciousness isn't produced by the brain? What if it's a field phenomenon that the brain tunes into, like a radio receiving signals from distant stations? What if your thoughts and intentions create ripples in this field that can influence people regardless of physical distance? This isn't mystical speculation. It's an emerging understanding based on decades of research into what scientists call non-local consciousness. The growing body of evidence suggesting that awareness isn't confined to individual brains, but operates as an interconnected field that transcends space and time. You've experienced this yourself, even if you haven't recognized it. You've thought about someone just before they contacted you. You've felt inexplicably drawn to call a friend who turned out to need support at that exact moment. You've walked into places and immediately sensed the emotional residue of events that happened there long before you arrived. These aren't coincidences. They're glimpses of how consciousness actually works when we stop limiting it to the boundaries of our physical bodies. The implications for influence are profound. If consciousness is indeed a field phenomenon, then every thought you think, every intention you hold, and every emotional state you embody is broadcasting into this field and potentially affecting everyone connected to it. Your influence isn't limited to the people in your immediate physical presence. It extends to anyone you're connected with through attention, intention, or care. This explains why some people seem to attract opportunities, relationships, and positive outcomes, even when they're not actively networking or promoting themselves. They've learned to work with the invisible currents of consciousness, broadcasting such clear, coherent, attractive energy that it draws what they need toward them from unexpected directions. It also explains why certain individuals can have a profound impact on others they've never met in person. Their thoughts, writings, or recorded words carry such a powerful energetic signature that they continue to influence people long after the original transmission, across vast distances of space and time. But distant influence isn't just about attracting what you want. It's also about sending healing, support, and positive energy to others who need it. When you hold someone in your thoughts with genuine love and care, when you visualize them surrounded by light and well-being, when you send them mental messages of encouragement and support, you're not just engaging in wishful thinking, you're participating in a real energetic exchange that can have measurable effects on their experience. The key to effective distant influence is the same as the key to all influence: clarity, coherence, and authentic care. When your intention is pure, when your mental image is vivid, when your emotional state is aligned with love rather than manipulation, you create a transmission that naturally seeks out and connects with its intended recipient. But this power comes with profound responsibility. Just as you can send positive energy across distance, you can also transmit negative energy, worry, anger, judgment, or ill will. Every time you think critical thoughts about someone, every time you hold resentment or send mental complaints, you're broadcasting that energy into the field where it can affect them whether you intend it to or not. This is why the ancient traditions placed such emphasis on mental discipline and emotional purification. They understood that in a universe where consciousness is interconnected, every thought matters, every emotion has consequences, and every intention creates ripples that extend far beyond what we can see. The most ethical and effective approach to distant influence is to focus on what you want to give rather than what you want to get. Instead of trying to manipulate others from afar, use your understanding of non-local consciousness to send healing, love, support, and positive energy to everyone in your life. When you consistently broadcast coherent, loving energy into the field of consciousness, you become a source of healing and inspiration for everyone connected to you. Your very existence becomes a gift to the world, influencing others toward their highest possibilities, even when you're not consciously trying to influence them at all. Remember, in a universe where everything is connected, your consciousness is never truly private. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every intention you hold is part of the vast web of influence that connects all beings. Use this power wisely, and it will transform not only your own life, but the lives of everyone you touch, near and far. Chapter 9. Protection from Unseen Forces. If you can influence others through energy and intention, then others can influence you in the same way. This is the shadow side of understanding consciousness as a field phenomenon. Once you recognize that thoughts and emotions are transmissible, that mental states can be contagious, and that influence operates through invisible channels of energy, you must also acknowledge that you're constantly receiving transmissions from others, whether you're aware of it or not. Every day you're bombarded with the mental and emotional broadcasts of everyone around you: the anxiety of your co-worker, the anger of the driver in traffic, the depression of a friend going through a difficult time, the manipulative intentions of someone trying to sell you something you don't need. All of these energetic transmissions are constantly impinging on your consciousness, potentially affecting your thoughts, emotions, and decisions without your knowledge or consent. Most people are completely unconscious of this process. They assume that their thoughts and feelings are entirely their own, never realizing how much of their inner experience is actually the result of energetic influences from their environment. They wonder why they feel drained after spending time with certain people, why their moods shift dramatically in different locations, and why they sometimes make decisions that seem completely out of character. The solution isn't to become paranoid or to isolate yourself from others. It's to develop what we might call energetic sovereignty, the ability to maintain your own center while remaining open to positive influences and naturally deflecting negative ones. Awareness is the fundamental energetic defense concept. You cannot defend yourself against unknown influences. Start observing how your energy changes with different individuals and in different settings. Take note of any sudden feelings of exhaustion, anxiety, anger, or confusion that don't seem to have any external reason. These could indicate that other people are sending you energetic signals. The second principle is boundaries. Just as you have physical boundaries that determine who can touch your body and how you need energetic boundaries that determine what kinds of mental and emotional influences you allow into your consciousness. This isn't about building walls or becoming defensive. It's about becoming selective about what you absorb from your environment. One of the most effective techniques for maintaining energetic boundaries is what we might call conscious shielding. Before entering any situation where you might encounter negative or draining energy, take a moment to visualize yourself surrounded by a protective field of light. This isn't just imagination. You're actually using your intention to organize your energy field in a way that naturally repels unwanted influences while remaining open to positive ones. The third principle is grounding. When you're well grounded in your own truth, your own values, and your own sense of purpose, you become much less susceptible to external influences. It's like the difference between a tree with deep roots and a leaf blowing in the wind. The tree can bend with the storm without being uprooted, while the leaf is completely at the mercy of whatever forces are acting upon it. Develop practices that help you stay connected to your center. Meditation, time in nature, physical exercise, creative expression, or whatever activities help you feel most like yourself. The stronger your connection to your own authentic essence, the less likely you are to be knocked off balance by the energetic turbulence of others. The fourth principle is discernment. Not all influences are negative, and not all protection requires resistance. Sometimes the most appropriate response to an energetic transmission is to receive it with compassion while maintaining your own stability. When someone is broadcasting pain, fear, or confusion, you can acknowledge their experience without absorbing it into your own system. This is the difference between empathy and emotional contagion. Empathy allows you to understand and care about others' experiences while maintaining your own emotional equilibrium. Emotional contagion means unconsciously taking on others' emotional states as if they were your own. The fifth principle is transformation. Instead of just protecting yourself from negative influences, you can learn to transform them. When you encounter anger, you can respond with peace. When you meet fear, you can offer courage. When you sense manipulation, you can radiate authenticity. This doesn't mean trying to fix or change others. It means maintaining such a clear, coherent, energetic state that your presence naturally helps neutralize negative influences and amplify positive ones. You become like a tuning fork that helps bring chaotic energies back into harmony. But perhaps the most important aspect of energetic protection is understanding that the best defense is a strong offense. When you're consistently broadcasting love, peace, clarity, and authentic power, you create an energetic field that naturally repels lower vibrational influences. Negative energy simply can't penetrate a consciousness that's aligned with truth and love. This is why the most spiritually developed people throughout history have rarely needed to actively protect themselves from negative influences. Their inner light was so bright, their love so genuine, their connection to truth so strong, that darkness simply couldn't find a foothold in their presence. The goal isn't to become invulnerable or to shut yourself off from the world. It's to become so clear, so centered, so aligned with your highest truth that you naturally attract positive influences while remaining immune to negative ones. You become a source of healing and inspiration for others while maintaining your own energetic integrity. Remember, in a world where consciousness is interconnected, your mental and emotional state affects everyone around you. By learning to protect and purify your own energy, you're not just serving yourself, you're serving the collective field of consciousness that we all share. Chapter 10. The Ethical Use of Power. With great power comes great responsibility. Now that you understand how influence really works, through energy rather than words, through being rather than doing, through the invisible transmission of consciousness itself, you face a crucial choice. Will you use this knowledge to serve your own narrow interests, or will you use it in service of something greater? The temptation to use energetic influence for manipulation is real and powerful. When you realize that you can affect others' thoughts, emotions, and decisions through the quality of your presence and the clarity of your intention, it's natural to wonder how you might use this ability to get what you want from people. But this approach is not only unethical, it's ultimately self-defeating. When you use influence to manipulate others, you create energetic resistance that eventually works against you. The universe has a way of balancing the scales, and those who use power to exploit others inevitably find themselves isolated, distrusted, and ultimately powerless. True power, the kind that creates lasting positive change in the world, can only be wielded ethically. It must be grounded in love rather than fear, in service rather than selfishness, in truth rather than deception. This means that before you attempt to influence anyone, you must honestly examine your motives. Are you trying to help them or use them? Are you focused on their well-being or your own agenda? Are you offering them a genuine gift, or are you trying to extract something from them? When your influence comes from a place of authentic care and service, it becomes a force for healing and transformation. When it comes from manipulation or self-interest, it becomes a source of harm and separation. The most ethical approach to influence is to focus on becoming the kind of person others naturally want to follow, learn from, and be around. Instead of trying to get people to do what you want, focus on embodying the qualities you want to see more of in the world. Instead of attempting to change others, concentrate on changing yourself in ways that naturally inspire others to grow. Remember, true influence is not about power over others. It's about power with others. It's about creating fields of possibility where everyone can thrive, where everyone's highest potential can be realized, and where everyone wins. Use your understanding of energetic influence to heal rather than harm, to unite rather than divide, and to elevate rather than diminish. Let your energy be a gift to everyone it touches, and you'll discover that the most powerful influence of all is the influence of love itself. Closing reflections. Your energy is your message. Before you speak, they've already felt you. Before you make your argument, they've already decided whether to trust you. Before you try to convince them of anything, they've already been influenced by the quality of energy you bring into their presence. This is the fundamental truth we've explored together. Influence happens at the level of being, not doing. It's transmitted through energy, not words. It's received by the heart and nervous system, not just the rational mind. Every moment of every day you are broadcasting. Your thoughts, emotions, intentions, and inner state are constantly radiating outward, affecting everyone and everything in your field of influence. The question isn't whether you're influencing others. You absolutely are. The question is whether you're doing it consciously and skillfully, or unconsciously and chaotically. When you understand that your energy is your message, everything changes. You stop trying to manipulate others through clever words and start focusing on what you're actually transmitting. You realize that the most important conversation isn't the one happening with your mouth, it's the one happening with your entire being. This understanding brings both tremendous power and tremendous responsibility. You have the ability to influence others in ways you never imagined possible, but with that ability comes the obligation to use it wisely, ethically, and in service of the highest good. Become intentional about your energy. Become coherent in your transmission. Become conscious of the field you're creating wherever you go. Let your presence be a gift that elevates everyone it touches. In a world hungry for authentic connection, your genuine presence becomes revolutionary. In a culture obsessed with surface-level communication, your energetic depth becomes magnetic. In an environment where everyone is trying to get something from everyone else, your sincere desire to give becomes irresistible. You are not just a person who occasionally influences others. You are a walking, breathing transmission tower, constantly broadcasting signals that shape the consciousness of everyone around you. Make sure those signals are worth receiving. Let your energy speak the truth, your words will only echo, and watch as the world begins to respond not to what you say, but to who you are. The power has always been within you. Now you know how to use it.